Let's get into the numbers and the financial review real quick. Which starts at 2013. For you new people that don't know me, I moved back here in 2004. I got introduced to LTYA sports and T-ball when my kid was in kindergarten, with two coaches screaming at the kids and the parents saying, we are here to learn how to play baseball first and have fun second, and I don't want any of you kids or you parents to get that in reverse order. And I immediately became LTYA's newest volunteer. I played baseball through college and played competitive softball thereafter. I volunteered for a number of years on the baseball board, different capacities, coached numerous sports, etc. In 2012, I was serving on the board, and we were having some significant financial issues that I think we helped bring to light. And when we divested of DJCT, the select soccer program, which was going to run us destitute if you were here, in May of 2013, David Sewell, the president of LTYA, stood up here and said, we are on a path to lose $180,000 this year. That was the message. You can go back to that deck from May of 2013 and said, we are on a path to lose $180,000 this year. So I have a background in turnarounds. I have a background. I took a company public in the mid-90s. I ran a professional sports team after we sold that company, and I volunteered. I said, I'll take on the task of turning the organization around from a financial perspective by replacing the then paid executive director, and the board hired me. What started as a 90-day position has now turned into 3.5 years, and I'm committed to staying through the new sports complex as long as the board will have me. But to go back to the numbers, May 14th to 13, we had $309,000 in the bank. $200,000 of that was restricted. $200,000 of that was restricted funds. We slowly built up. As of May 9th, when I did these slides, we had $719,000 in the bank. Of that, about $40,000 of it in restricted funds. This is a little bit of the history in terms of the revenue growth. Since 2013, we've grown revenues from just over $1 million to $1.45 million. We lost $60,000 in 2013. We were able to narrow the loss from a $180,000 forecast down to a $60,000 loss, and then the surplus from 14, 15, and 16. 2017 year to date, we're at $518,000 in revenue and a surplus of $85,000. That compares to $501,000 in revenue and $115,000 respectively. So we're more or less on track. We're on track in the budget. We know the different costs that we have for 2017 that make a difference between the 115 surplus and the 85. 2016 capital improvements that we did fencing improvements for baseball, softball, and soccer. We did water well irrigation system improvements. Part of the issue that we had with the soccer fields was the well pump failed in the middle of the summer. When that fails and it's not in warranty, that's about a $10,000 issue. We upgraded the pump at soccer. We added the 2 temporary storage tanks that are out there. We did an existing Field of Dreams survey. We had a conflict with the neighbor on the south property. He said that our fence, which has been there since I was here in 2004, but our fence was on his property all the time. When I talked to him, I said all the time, Lamar, I thought that was your fence, right? Because the keep out signs are on our way, and Texas is a fence out state, not a fence in state. Anyway, so we paid to do the survey, and we had the boundary right, so we're there. We did a trip study. We were looking at maybe selling a piece of property, and the county actually wanted it to for the new complex, so we did a trip study to understand how many cars per day come in and out of the Field of Dreams. While we're on that subject, I should introduce Bob Shelton is the architect that worked with us on our site plan amendment. He worked with us on the design of the fields for the potential new county complex initially, and is working with us on all the site plan improvements that we're doing. So that's Bob Shelton. And next to him is Eric Scheibe. He's our retained civil engineer that has worked with us on the same programs as well.
I think it's also important to note, if you guys don't know, we made a decision a while back. We're not selling the current Field of Dreams, so that's why we took the sign down. I think we all kind of knew, but we wanted to make it public, know that we're hanging on to that, regardless if the new fields happen or not. So just kind of interject some facts. And again, if you have any questions on any of that stuff, let's answer them when we get there.
We met with the city of Bee Cave the first time in March of 2016, and we said we think we'd like to have lights to baseball fields 4, 5, and 6. Clearly, we've contemplated that before. There are pole bases that are existing there, so we'd like to add lights. They said we think that's a great idea. Go ahead and follow the process. We want to put in new LED lights. In July, they issued a building permit to our contractor for the construction of the new lights. To Techline, they're a lighting contractor. They've done like Oklahoma. They did the Miami Dolphins. They're a big contractor. They're actually based here in town. They also did our existing lights. So they were going to put in the new lights. They started that process. The neighbors complained. They definitely had some issues on their end that they needed to clean up through this cleanup process. Basically, the city red flagged our facility and said you need to stop all work on everything, which we did. And then they required us to do a site plan amendment on everything that we wanted to do. That's introduced Bob and Eric. So we did that. This project is still on hold as we work through the issues with the city of Bee Cave. They have issued us a building permit, and we're working through them in terms of, okay, what does that mean? They've not issued us an electrical permit, but that's kind of on our agenda to resolve this issue. This is a big issue for us and for everybody, and it'll be a big issue for the board to wrestle with moving forward. We hope to get it resolved amicably. We've spent the last 9 months working on it. We have strategically decided that really to work on getting our other projects done as opposed to fighting this battle up front or intertwining this battle with some of the other projects that we have to get done. 2017 planned capital projects, new water well and storage between soccer 1 and 2. We presented that to the city of Bee Cave. They've approved it. If you go between soccer 1 and 2, you'll see a pipe that sticks a couple feet out of the ground. Don't look down too far. It goes down 860 feet into the ground. So that's where the new well will be. The housing's in there now. We just need to finish that. They're running the electrical pad, etc. That's there. Remote control system for the existing field lights. We've issued a PO for that. That equipment's in. We're just waiting for the electrical contractor. That will allow us to program on and off the lights from our phone or a computer system, right? And then if somebody turns the lights on or off, we can understand who did that. Well, this won't fix that particular scenario. We had a scenario a couple weeks ago where the neighbor called me on a Friday night at 10 o'clock and said the lights are on at soccer. And I thought, holy cow, we forgot to turn the lights off after a game. By the time I actually got in touch with them, he'd already called the police. The police had been there, etc. And a bunch of high school kids decided they were going to have a party on our soccer fields, on soccer fields 2 and 3, and they turned all the lights on, and they were playing soccer and drinking beer. And he actually called the police because they were trespassing there. But when the police showed up, they were trying to take his statement that he was complaining that the lights were on late. He said, I'm not complaining that the lights are on late. I'm complaining these kids are trespassing and turn the lights on. We have to manage our lights with regard to the neighbors. I know soccer ran late on Friday night, and Steve saw the email that I got. I got an email at 9:53 p.m. on Friday night that the soccer field lights were still on.
Hey Scott, question for you. Do we have permission from Bee Cave to do the remote work?
Well, Grand Electric is has to submit a electrical permit request, but I don't know why we would. It's no different than it's just putting in a different mechanical switch, if you will. I mean, one of the issues we have in our lights, they're on a mechanical timer, right? And that the lights are supposed to go off at a certain time, right? Well, it's problematic, one, when time changes, somebody has to go and reprogram it, and it's also problematic if we have any type of electrical issue, even though they theoretically have battery backup. So this new system will be on basically a GPS system and run on the phone system, so it'll automatically update time, etc. Parking lot gates at Twin Acres in the main parking lot. You'll still be able to pull in the main parking lot, but we'd like to put gates there so that we can isolate off on the field. People will still be able to park in that front area. We have a relationship with the two buildings next to us for overflow parking on our end on the weekend, and we let them park in our parking lot during the day. And we know the city wants us to make sure we can allow people to always turn into our parking lot off 71 and turn around. But we think this will help with the security of our field, especially. We've had 2 issues of vandalism on the soccer fields in the last year or so. New bleachers and sunshade structure for softball. That's what softball wants. That's coming. Video equipment for tackle football. They purchased that. City of Bee Cave required us to do a lighting study of our existing conditions. So we flew in a lighting professional. So I can tell you with our lights on exactly what the luminescence is every 30 feet, etc. On our fields, and we'll use that to support the new field lights and what we need to do. This was part of the requirement of the City of Bee Cave that they for the submittal to them. We're looking at portable restroom trailers by soccer in the main field house. This is could be a long-term or certainly an interim solution. The sewer, I'm meeting with the PUA on Tuesday, right? Tuesday afternoon with Eric. But all indications are the sewer is across 71 and uphill. So for us to put in permanent restrooms, we would have to bore under 71 and put in a pump station to go ahead, and that's very, very costly. So in the near term, we're looking at portable restroom trailers that we can roll in, plug in. I've used them at different facilities, at racetracks, etc. And they're air conditioned. They're actually really nice. To certainly be a step up. And then miscellaneous electrical repairs. Our facility was built in 1999. So as we upgrade different things, we look to do some electrical repairs. When they were trenching, there are no as-built drawings for our fields. I did find the guy's name escapes me, but he was here in the 90s when all this got approved, and I said, "How did you build this? Right? Was there a site plan submitted?" He said, "Site plan submitted. I put the mayor of Bee Cave in my truck, and we drove around and said, this is kind of what we're thinking about." And he said, "Great, go for it." Right? So there are no as-built drawings for our facility. We did have a company come out and map all the utilities that were there, so we now have that in CAD. We have it in PDF, but we did that after this. When they were trenching the lines, they did cut 2 electrical lines. You'll see when they repaired them, right? If you're baseball and softball folks, in order to get lights to baseball field 2 or the softball field, you had to turn them both on for a period of 6 months because they reversed some wires. And then the City of Bee Cave wanted us to submit that site plan before we went ahead and made that electrical fix and get an approved fix from a licensed electrical engineer, which we were able to do and now have that fixed.
I want to go back to the restrooms because I know everybody in this room is worn out everywhere you go. If you have anything that says LTYA on you, right? That is our highest priority. Think about if you guys have been out on an F1 track or at a concert those nice step in, walk in. That's what we're looking at. And knock on wood, I mean, Jeff, who's one of our board members, has connections that we think we're able to hopefully get at basically a cost or better. But this is a solution that we plan on having on the ground for next season. If everything goes right, we'll have one near the snack, somewhere around the snack shed for baseball, and then we'll put it, don't hold me to the spot, but ideally somewhere by the red shed over there, so soccer. So grandma and mom, everybody doesn't have to hold, they can go to the bathroom out there. It'd be nice and, it's horrible, but Scott just gave you the background of why we're in the predicament that we are. So don't let anybody grab you and pin you down and go, oh, those guys don't want to do bathrooms. Really? No, that's not the deal. But the good news is that's the highest priority for us, and we've got a hopefully quick solution that will be ready next season.
Future capital improvements, temporary lighting for soccer fields 2 and 3. As you know, there's temporary lighting out there now that's actually provided with our relationship with DJCT. We're in the last year of that agreement. Work closely with soccer to determine what happens there. But if that agreement would go away, we would have to replace that lighting. They're about $1,000 a piece per month to rent. Probably not the most cost-effective solution. So we will need to address temporary lighting for soccer fields 2 and 3 for 2018 if either us or DJCT cancels or does not renew that agreement. Pave the parking lot. Eric and I met with the city. In the previous communications, we've kind of been working through different things with the city, and the concern has been impervious cover, number one, and number two, if we make something impervious cover, like pave the parking lot or add bathrooms, etc., what code would that trigger, right? And up until Tuesday, the indication was that would likely trigger, if we would pave the parking lot, it would likely trigger code upgrades relative to water retention, water detention, water treatment, etc. And maybe even things like turning radiuses, etc. Right? So if that would happen, it would be not only a hugely significant financial investment, but it would likely be cause us to reconfigure a number of the fields. So fair representation. Yep. On Tuesday, we met with city staff. We had a great meeting with them. We laid out our plan for gates. We laid out our plan for restroom trailers. We laid out our plan for a number of other things, and we talked about paving the parking lot. We consider our current parking lot impervious as is in our impervious cover calculations. So we feel it's a maintenance item. It's just we're going to take impervious cover. We're just going to upgrade it to pavement, and they're starting to see it our way. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to do the testing that we need to determine how much pavement we would have to put in, what to do, get a quote on that, and submit it to the city of Bee Cave. Right, wrong, or indifferent, the strategy that we've taken collectively, and I do think it's the right one, is while we have submitted a complete site plan amendment as requested by the city, we're actually just requesting for project approval a little bit at a time, those things that are most important to us, so we can make sure we get those through. For instance, we did not want to commingle the well at soccer with the baseball field lights. We know the baseball field lights is going to be an issue that goes before council that I think you're going to see a lot of folks from the community come out and talk about. Hopefully y'all will be there talking about for it. I can guarantee you there'll be people there talking against it. So rather than commingle those things, we've prioritized these items and we've asked for approval. And so thus far, the things we've asked for approval from the city of Bee Cave, we've been able to get. And some of these things that are coming hopefully is favorable. Permanent restrooms, we kind of talked about where that is and what the challenges are. We'll have an update on that when we talk to the PUA. To the best of our knowledge, there's no LUEs allocated to the field right now. So LUEs are what, living equivalent units, but basically you have to have LUEs in order to get water, right? And I think they told us the wastewater LUE is about $10,000 for one.
Yeah, I think the wastewater was maybe 12 or 13, and then the water was maybe 8 or so. It cumulatively is about 18,000.
Cumulatively, it's about 18,000, and I think the one calculation we did said just to get water and wastewater, if we could deal with all this, we would need about 10 of those, right? I think 10's the number. Don't hold me to it, but we're going to work with them to understand exactly what that is. But permanent restrooms are part of what we'd like to explore as we kind of go through this and we're wrestling with those issues. Fencing around the soccer fields, soccer guys have asked at times and maybe not, so we'll go back and forth with them, whatever they're looking for there. Turf upgrades for the soccer fields. We've looked at, right now the city of Bee Cave, if you put artificial turf down, they consider it an impervious cover. I think that's going to change. We've looked at what that is, but it's about $1 million a field, right? So to do a football field or a full soccer field, it's $8 to $10 a square foot. By the time you put it in, it's about $1 million. But even still, not artificial stuff, if just to upgrade and lay sod, we're probably looking at a couple $100,000 if we would do that. So this year, right now, as soon as soccer is done, we're going to chemically remove the rye that's out there. We're probably going to temporary fence off the soccer fields for the summer. We're going to deep tine aerate, overseed, get the well going. We are tied into the fire hydrant. That's that big pipe that runs along the back. So we're actually tied into the public water supply from the PUA, but that water is like 18 cents a thousand. So we did use that when we had our challenges last fall, and we will use that.
How much we use a lot?
To grow grass, you need to put an inch of water on the fields a week at a minimum. That's 125,000 gallons a week. And 2 inches, which is ideal during the summertime if you're trying to replenish. It's 2 inches, so it's 250,000 gallons of water a week. So you're going to see a big holding tank out there between soccer fields 2 and 3, 32,000 gallons. That holds enough water to water the 3 soccer fields overnight from basically 10 p.m. when we hope everybody's off the fields until when we get there at about 6:30 in the morning and start working on it again. So we use about 32,000 gallons of water a day. Visors for the existing lights to reduce sky glow. So our fields were built in 1999. Technology has improved both with LED lighting, but also in terms of how fixtures work. We actually went to the city and suggested we do a qualitative test that we put some of these visors on to reduce the sky glow. Because for the most part, the people that live above the fields, that's what they complain about, is the sky glow. And so we went to them and we suggested a test. They sent it to an engineering firm. They gave us a report back. We have an upcoming meeting this Thursday with Techline, the lighting contractor, to review that report. In general, the report basically said we'd like to move it from a qualitative test to a quantitative test. Who are the engineers in the room? And that's probably what you'd expect from an engineer, right? So I'm an engineer. But we move it from a qualitative test to a quantitative test, so we can look at exactly what we're going to do there. But there are some things that we can do and hope that we will do in the future to reduce the sky glow and be good neighbors. Let's talk about some of our events and accomplishments. We continue to be financially sound. Our burn rate is about $110,000 a month. We spend about $110,000 a month, $120,000 a month. So if you go back to June of 2013, we had $310,000 in the bank. $200,000 of that was restricted. We essentially had about 1 month's operating. Fiscal responsibility says you need 3 to 6 months of operating cash in the bank, so we've been able to achieve that. Back then we had about just over 4,000 kids playing. Right now we have just over 6,000 kids playing across our sports. We managed through our soccer field challenges in the field this fall with our fields, thanks to Steve and the guys from soccer, and a big help from the LTYSD folks. We did contract with Texas Multicam to handle field fertilization, weed control, and consult on turf conditions. So now we have another a different contractor handling that aspect of what we're doing across all our fields. We still have Kirk Nussman, Texas Sports Field Services, on site every day doing the basic mowing, trash, irrigation management, etc. And we have 2 people to consult with in terms of turf conditions. 46 players on financial aid. For those of you who don't know, the board has adopted the position that if a kid can't pay to play, that we will pay for them to play, and that not only includes their registration, but in sports where it requires a uniform, like cheer. It's $100 for a girl to cheer, and it's $220 for them to buy the cheer outfit, right? So when I first got here in 2013, the board position was, well, we'll pay the $100, but then they have to buy the uniform. So the first 2 girls on financial aid, I personally wrote the check for, back then it was $190, for $380 so these 2 little girls could cheer because they weren't going to be able to. And so I took it to the board, and the board said, yeah, it makes sense, right? If not only we pay the registration fee, but on the sports that require them to purchase a uniform, cheer, tackle football in terms of equipment, we'll pay for that as well. We have 46 players on financial aid. We have a very defined financial aid policy that actually other organizations like LTYA, West Austin Youth Athletic Center, Town and Country, I think have modeled their policy and process around what we do. We continue to use Sports Roundtable with the other Central Texas youth sports organizations. This is probably, it's more informal now, and quite honestly, it's narrowed down to mostly us, LTYA, and Town and Country. And we get together on an informal basis. We move where we meet. We've included the YMCA and Dripping Springs and Round Rock and all kinds of different organizations. They always get invited. Town and Country Way and ourselves are the ones who usually participate. And that's when we sit down and we review best-in-class practices, and we also talk about what are the challenges that you're having in your organization. For instance, in our organization, right, some crazy number, like 50% of the people register for sports in the last 72 hours, right? Well, when we were ending sport registration 2 weeks or a week before sports were launching, we would end soccer registration on January 31st, then we'd want to practice on February 10th. But all these people registered, all these kids registered at the end, and then we'd be 50 coaches short. And so it takes an enormous amount of time, and that's not unique to us, by the way. So these are the things that we wrestle with, like, hey, what are you doing to address this, right? And we wrestle with, we understand that. It was funny, I guess it's not funny, but as I was doing a tour of Town and Country, we drove past one of the soccer fields, and I said, I wonder if the same person that did donuts on our soccer fields is the one who did it on yours, because apparently they had one of their soccer fields torn up as well. We do an annual audit by a third-party company. 15 is complete. 2016 is just in process. We should have that back in a couple weeks. They've spent the last 2 weeks in our office going through everything there. So we do an annual audit. We have since I got here in 2013. You can find those on the website.